Okay, so yesterday, Lawrence did a class, and he introduced addition, the concept of it. And if we just let's put it into context. Okay, addition of ideas is just another aspect of sentence structure. And the place that this comes from, that I'm trying to do, and the reason why we're doing it in writing, is that we want people to add ideas to their sentences. That's the idea of it. Okay. We don't want to just write simple sentences. We want to add ideas to sentences. Now, sometimes we add ideas to sentences by putting in causes of what happened. Sometimes we add ideas to sentence by putting results of actions that have happened already. Sometimes we put things in because they're a bit of a surprise. So we would use contrast for that. Sometimes we add a new section of a sentence, a relative clause, to talk about what happened in a previous clause. Sometimes we use participle clauses, and we like to say, okay, well, this one was true at the same time as this action in another clause, or this one happened before this happened in another clause. We've got loads of different ways of adding ideas. Sometimes we just simply add another idea to a sentence that doesn't really have any relationship. So if I said, I like eating at lunchtime and I enjoy sitting in the sun, those things, they're not really related. They're just two things that I do. That's it. It's just two things. First part was I like. Second part was I enjoy. Two verb clauses put together. Or I could use the same verb. I like chocolate and ice cream. Okay. Now I've got the same verb. And it can start to get a little bit confusing, and it can cause errors when we start using phrases like in addition to, as well as, along with. It can get a little bit confusing. So I think yesterday Lawrence went through some addition. Am I right in thinking that, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, you went through
Yes, yes.
some addition. So I think this is what you looked at yesterday. And I know that we've got some people who've seen this before, and there'll be some people that haven't seen this before. So the people that, is there anyone who was looking at this yesterday and thought there is stuff in here that I don't really understand? Is there anyone? I mean, I was thinking maybe this section here can be a bit confusing. No?
Yes, yes, a little bit.
Okay, so sometimes when we do this, encourage to do, that's called a verb pattern. Okay, when we encourage someone to do something and we use as well as, it's not quite the same as normal. Normally, when we use as well as we've seen up here, they're generally followed by a noun. Okay. So we say as well as visiting. But in this example here, we said as well as do. So the way I see it is you've got two rules here. You've got the verb pattern rule, which is that we always say encouraged to do or encouraged to lose. But then we've got as well as, which gives you the rule of we have to follow as well as with the gerund. But when you put those two rules together, one rule wins. There's no compromise. And the rule that wins is the verb pattern. So even though it says as well as, we don't follow with doing here. Okay. It's a do instead. And I know that's it's a bit tricky. So we've got normal and, okay, and can add nouns, add can add new verb clauses. We've got some really nice phrases which are basically very, very similar to and, which add verb clauses, in addition and in addition, etc. These ones. We don't use also. And then we've got as well as, along with, in addition to. Okay. Now there is something else here. If you look at this one here, another thing that's a bit strange is if you say as well as a broken arm or in addition to feeling nauseous, it gives us the feeling that we already knew about this bit. and that we're adding extra after the bit that we already knew about. That's also a bit confusing. So I know that Lawrence went through this. If there are any aspects of this that you're not sure about, you can let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions. Or we can just go straight through and we can start having a look at some of the exercises that Lawrence set for homework yesterday. Anyone have any questions? No? Bit quiet today. Are we a bit quiet or is it just too easy?
Not easy, not easy.
It's not
No,
easy.
I'm sorry to say, but I couldn't make it yesterday, so I just paying attention
I see.
carefully.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, well, let's do this then. Let's just start doing some homework. Let's do these exercises. I don't know if you guys have done it already. But I'm going to set you, why don't we set 3 minutes? And you guys can put some sentences in. Now, I know Erzat, you've already done it. Why don't we do one at a time? Let's do one at a time. We'll do 1 minute. Give me a sentence, guys. One sentence. Pop it into the chat box, starting now. This first one, number 1, John Edwards. Thank you, Erzat, for doing that. Okay, let's get some of these sentences. Remember, you can use any addition you like. Okay, we've had a minute there already. Yeah, let's have a few more sentences. I'll just wait for a couple more. One more, and then we'll review. Okay, good. All right, that one can pop there. All right, okay. So John Edwards presented with a swollen knee, reduced joint movement, and severe pain. That is perfect. Okay, no problem with that. So what are we doing? If we analyze it, what we've got here is this person has used and. Okay, that's really nice. We've got and. That means we've got X, Y, and Z. That's the listing pattern that this person's gone for. That's great. No problem with that. Reduced joint movement. I like that nominalization. That's nice as well. Okay. Severe pain. Okay, good. That will do me. In addition to severe pain, okay, so this person is suggesting that we already knew about it. Now, I think that this would be really good in, let's say, in your introduction. You write something about, this person's got severe pain. Then in the timeline, you can refer back to the severe pain and then talk about other things as well. So in addition to severe pain, John Edwards presented with a swollen knee. Now, is there any way to do this swollen knee without a? Can you think of a way to do that? Is it if you switch it round? What was that?
Knee swollen.
Knee.
Swollen.
Swelling, yeah.
Oh,
So you could say knee
nice.
swelling. So if you wanted to put that in as a non-countable, an uncountable, you could say knee swelling. Okay. Presented with a swollen knee and reduced movement joint. Okay. That has to be joint movement. Has to go like that. And reduced joint movement. Or mobility possibly could be another way to put it as well. But yeah, I put joint movement. John Edwards. Presented with a swollen knee. Okay. Reduced joint movement. Remember what we said about compound nouns. In compound nouns, we never pluralize this bit before the last bit. Okay. So it would never be joints movement. Reduced joint movement as well as, this is actually a word, isn't it? To sever. Does anyone know what it means to sever something?
To make worse.
No, not to. Well, it probably would make it worse in a lot of situations, but no, it doesn't mean that. To sever. What would happen if you severed the carotid artery? Taufik?
It's like to tear or to break, something like that.
Not to break. Mohammed's got it. To cut. So if you sever
To
your
cut,
hand,
yeah.
your hand's gone. It's not still attached. It means cut off. If you sever the carotid
Amputated.
artery, it's
Amputation.
the word amputate is a bit different. You can amputate a finger, you can amputate a hand, you can amputate an arm, you can amputate a toe or a leg, but you can't amputate an artery.
Right.
Yeah, you can sever an artery. So when you sever, severing is sometimes the same as amputating. But amputate generally is a deliberate action, isn't it? No one says, "Oh, I amputated," "Oh, my foot was amputated in an accident." They don't say that. So to sever means to cut off, but you don't always amputate when you sever. Okay, so
What about the word laceration or to lacer?
To lacerate means to badly cut.
Yes.
To badly cut, and when I get the sense of lacerate, I get the sense that there are multiple cuts as well. So let's say that you put your hand into a food blender. That would be that would lacerate your hand. So I think of it as more than one cut.
Terrible example, thank you.
Yeah, not very nice. My mum did something similar. You know, one of those handheld blenders that you put into soup. She forgot that it was still on, and she put her finger in to try and get something out of it, and it went on, and she lacerated her finger. Yeah, not very nice idea. Yeah. So a swollen knee and severe pain. Yeah, severe pain. Next one, in addition to a swollen knee, Mr. Edwards presented with reduced movement in joint. Now, again, I would say reduced joint movement. Okay. And severe pain. Yeah, that works. Good work. Yeah, joint movement. Okay. Mr. John Edwards was presented with. Okay. That means somebody gave him a swollen knee. Is that what you mean, Khalid?
Sorry.
You know, if you go to let's say that you're at the Olympic Games, Khalid, okay, and you win the high jump, then you stand on the podium, don't you? Afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like that, isn't it? So silver stands there, bronze stands here, and then there's Khalid. Okay. Now somebody comes up and presents you with a medal.
Yeah.
So you'd say Khalid was presented with a gold medal. So if you say Mr. John Edwards was presented with a swollen knee, it means somebody had a swollen knee and they gave it to Mr. John Edwards. Is that correct?
No, presented with you.
Presented with, isn't it? Okay, that passive. Presented is never in the passive in OET. And so presented with a swollen knee and severe pain, and as well as reduced. Okay, so we've got problems there.
Reduction, I think I forgot.
We've got a number of problems there we're going to have a look at in a minute. Okay. John Edwards presented with a swollen knee, reduced movement. Well, that's an uncountable. So you wouldn't say a, and reduced is with a C. Reduced movement, well, again, you'd put joint movement. In addition, okay, so again, we've got some problems there as well. Okay, so let's look at why these are wrong. Okay, let's look at why these are wrong. Let's review the idea of in addition and as well as. Okay, so in addition is at the beginning of a sentence. All right. In addition is at the beginning. So if I take this sentence here, oops. If I take this sentence, that's going to go like this. John Edwards was presented with a swollen knee, reduced joint movement. Take that away. Full stop. In addition, double D. In addition, comma. He had severe pain. That's how you do it. Now, another way to do it with in addition would be to continue the sentence. Okay. Oh, sorry, that should be and. Sorry, because it's only. Press the wrong button there. Because there's only two things. Sorry. So John Edwards presented with a swollen knee and reduced joint movement. In addition, he had severe pain. Okay. Or you can do it like this. So John Edwards presented with a swollen knee and reduced joint movement, and in addition, he had severe pain. That's how you could do it. So we're getting into listing, and listing requires you to think to yourself, how many units are in my list? That's where we get to. When you're talking about listing, how many things am I adding together? Now, in this case, you've done a list, but your list is here. If you use and in addition, you're no longer listing. This isn't a list with three things in it. Now it's two sentences put together to make two clauses with addition tools. If you say this one, okay, this is a list. Okay, that is a list. Because what they've done is they've just used and to add a number of things. So how's it worked? Why is this a list? Let's make that green. All right. This is a list because there's one verb, isn't there? What's the verb in this list?
Presented.
Presented with, yeah. He presented with, so that's basically the verb. He presented with, he showed, okay? So that's the verb in this sentence. And then the thing that he presented with, 1, reduced joint movement, 2, severe pain, 3. They are 3 things. So for me, that's a 3-unit list. A 3-unit list that you've used and with, and you've used this listing structure. But in this one here, that's 2 sentences. Okay. So what you've got is you've got presented with, there's our verb, a swollen knee and reduced joint movement. That's 2 items. Okay. They are 2 units in the list. That's one list with 2 units. When there are only 2 units in a list, you just combine them with and, or as well as, that would work, or along with. And then you've used this word, in addition. That's your addition linker, but it goes into a new sentence because you started again with a new verb. Look, presented with, and he had 2 completely separate sentences connected with an addition linker. So it's not one list. It's not a 3-unit list. It's 2 sentences that tell me 3 different things. Same with this one, even though you've got and in addition. This and in addition is introducing a new verb clause, which is he had. Okay, that is a new verb. So it's a new verb clause in this case. Remember, and can do that. So there's a difference between adding multiple units inside one list and adding a new verb clause to a sentence. It's a different thing. Remember, X, comma, Y, and Z. That's our listing structure. Handy said, can I say X, comma, Y along with Z? No, you can't. Okay. When it's along with, it's like this. Oh, I'll show you as well as, along with, in addition to. They're a bit different. Okay. These ones, the listing structure is like this: X and Y along with Z. Okay, that's a different structure. Okay, and we just had this one here, didn't we? So let's have a look. Mr. John Edwards, let's take that away. Presented with a swollen knee and severe pain, and as well as reduced in joint. We can't do that. Okay, so we don't want and here, as well as now this would be reduced joint movement. That's how you do a 3-unit list with as well as X and Y. So we've got X and Y. There they are. As well as, there it is. That's our addition linker. And then we've got a third one. All in one sentence, all in one list.
Paul, sorry, I want to ask, like, can we say like a reduction in joint movement?
A reduction in joint, yeah, I guess you can, yeah. But you can't say a reduced in joint movement. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
There were too many ins, weren't there?
Yeah, exactly. So with reduction, I think we can use the preposition in.
With reduction, you can, yeah, a reduction in. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
So this could be as well as, it could be along with, it could be in addition to. Farid, with X, comma, Y, and Z, can we use as well as? No, you can't. These are the two listing patterns in English. So you've basically got, I would say you've got 3 options. Okay, what are the 3 options? The 3 options are X, comma, Y, and Z. You've got X and Y, comma, as well as, or along with, in addition to, etc. But I'm not going to put them in. Okay, and then you've got the multiple sentence. Okay, and you've got sort of like X and Y linker plus Z in a new sentence. So this is the typical list. This is our as well as list. And this is our multiple sentence list. But it's not really listing, is it? It's just doing a new sentence. If I said to you, I live in Stockport, full stop. In addition, I have a home in Spain. I'm not listing. I'm doing 2 sentences. And in that next sentence, I can add something, or I can show a result, or I can say something completely separate and completely different. Taufik, have you got a question?
Yes, please. I have 2 questions.
Go on.
So the first one is it possible to say, additionally, John Edward presented with a swollen knee, reduced joint pain, and severe pain?
If you wanted to use additionally, it would be the same as in addition. Okay, you just take this and do that. That's what it is. It's not a list. It's 2 sentences. Or you can say and additionally. But what you're doing with and, remember, and can introduce a new sentence, or it can introduce a new noun, or it can be that third thing in the units of the list. So in listing, this could be a list where you have one verb and multiple nouns, or it could be verb listing. All right. In this case, it's the most simple type of list because it's one verb at the beginning, followed by multiple nouns, multiple objects. You presented with, it's like me saying, I ate a sandwich, a banana, and an orange. It's really easy because I ate it. But it gets more complicated because sometimes, even if you're using a typical list structure, X, Y, and Z might not be nouns. They might be different verbs. I came, I saw, I conquered. Okay, Julius Caesar. I came, I saw, I conquered. Okay, so it can be multiple ones. All right. Caroline, have you got a question?
Yes, thank you. As well as, does it need commas in between or somewhere?
Yeah, needs a comma here.
And as well as? Before as well as thank you.
Yeah, that's where it needs to be. Farid, have you got a question?
Yes. Can we use additionally in the middle of the sentence, in between the comma?
Well, you know that word in the middle. It triggers me a little bit when I hear in the middle. So what do you mean in the middle?
I mean to connect one clause with another. So we put a semicolon and then comma around the.
Only if you put and in front of it. And I know it seems a bit strange, but sometimes people put multiple linkers together. They put and together and additionally because they're trying to sound clever. But really, it doesn't help to do it. It doesn't really help. It just means that you can add, you can extend. So basically, if you say and additionally, you're just saying and. Puraldo, you got a question?
Yes. So can we say like on the multiple sentence, X and then full stop, addition, and then linker, and then plus Z?
Yeah, it could be. It doesn't have to be X and Y. It could just be X and then addition linker X and Y. Sorry, Y and Z. Yeah, you could. So you could say
One more question.
Yeah, so you could say Mr. Smith broke his arm. Of course, you can say one thing in a sentence, and then you could say additionally, he sprained his wrist. But then you're going to do and, aren't you? Now
Right.
you're starting. Whenever you start again, you're just starting with the same rules again. So additionally, he sprained his wrist and I don't know, cut his leg. Or you could be a full list. Additionally, he sprained his wrist, lost an eye, and fell over. You know, then you're just into X, Y, and Z again.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, of course, a sentence can have one idea in it, a simple single clause sentence, no problem, no listing at all. Of course, you can do that. But if you were thinking, I want to say three things, and I want to do a little bit of listing, X and Y is listing. It's just listing with 2 units. Listing with 3 units, 4 units gets a bit more complicated. But really, in terms of this list, present with, okay, I feel like it's the most simple way of doing a list. All right. It gets more complicated when you look at things like this. Okay. So encourage rest 4 weeks, reduce alcohol intake. Now, this is a bit different. Does anyone know why this one's different?
Because of encourage, verb encourage.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's one thing. It starts with a verb pattern.
There are 2 verbs.
And there are 2 verbs.
Encourage
multiple
and
verbs.
to reduce.
Reduce and encourage.
Exactly, yeah. So in this case, you don't just have presented with noun, noun, noun. Okay. You've got 2 units, haven't you? That's the first. That's the first thing that we need to know. Okay. It's 2 units. So 2 listing units. So there's 2 things you need to say. Then there's also a verb pattern, which can affect as well as. Okay. Or in addition to, or along with. Plus, it's a verb listing. You're not listing nouns. It's not one verb with multiple nouns. It's multiple verbs. So if I was to do it, this is how I would say it. I would, and the second thing is, it's the passive, isn't it? Sarah Fernley has been encouraged or was encouraged, up to you, to rest for 4 weeks and reduce her alcohol intake. That's how I would do it. You might think, oh, Paul's just chosen the easy one there. But actually, when it comes to addition and adding things to sentences, complexity is not better than clarity. You know, let's just be clear. But if I was going to use along with or in addition to, okay, or as well as, I'd say the same thing. Okay, Sarah Fernley's been encouraged to rest for 4 weeks as well as. It's just the same. It doesn't change. That's where it gets a bit tricky, isn't it? Because you're thinking it should be a noun. but it's not, because you've got encouraged to rest. This wins. As I said earlier on, you've got 2